Welcome back. Taking a look at Stonewall Sword, the blind sword system. Played turn one of this scenario where the Union attacks. You got some victory point objectives, which have interesting rules for both sides. Okay, blue are the ones the Confederates need to get after, and red's the one the Union needs to get after. And since the Union's on the attack, it's probably more beneficial for them. And you get victory points for casualties, which are units killed. And we don't have, or destroyed. We don't have any yet. We do have one unit over in the broken box, and that's Garnett, one of his regiments. 42nd Virginia. So we got that, and he's broken 3, so he's way out there. So we played the first turn, and this is an interesting system. I think I can see why people like it. Now, I've had to make a couple adjustments for solo play, and one of the things right off the bat I'm thinking is the chits. There's a bunch of these special event chits in the game. Rebel fatigue, like see they got 2 rebel fatigues, and I'm thinking maybe for solo play, it might be a little better to lose some of those. Let me get all the Union ones laid over here. So they've got a command confusion, and they've got, I think there's 8 of them. 8 or it's 5, 6, 7. Am I missing one here? Might be. Maybe there's only 7 of them. All right. So how this works is at the start of the turn, you get to draw one that you want to use, guaranteed to be in the cup. Then you put the rest of them face down, mix them up, and you have the opposing player pulls 2 away. And then the remaining 4 will go in the cup. And you're not allowed to look at, so like you would flip these upside down like this, and you'd mix them all up, and then the Confederate player, like for the Union, the Confederate player would pull 2 away. And no, you can't look at them when they're pulled away. And then you put the remaining ones in the cup because it is a chit draw system. I'm thinking for solo play, though, things like, I mean, I don't know. I might take like one of the rebel fatigues out. Maybe take that one out right there. Get it out of the way. And on the Confederate, same thing. Take one of the command confusions out. They have 2 rebel yells. And take it back. They don't have 1 command confusion. And maybe take one of the Union fatigues out because it is, well, no, actually, they got 2 firefights and they have 2 quick marches. So maybe take a quick march out or something. No, probably have to be a rebel yell. Take a rebel yell out to give it some balance. So there's 2 rebel yells for the Confederates, and then for the Union, there are 2 rebel fatigues. So maybe yank one of those out. The rebel fatigue and the Union fatigue ones are, when you're playing solo, it's a little hard to apply. You can only use it after a unit has been given a movement type order and they've quick marched, blah, blah, blah. There's a couple of things you got to do first before that. So I would probably remove those to make the game move along faster. It is chit draw, and how the chit draw works is, let's find Winder. So here's Winder's chit that you draw from the cup. And he's got a command rating of 3. Winder has 3 brigades on the board. So when you draw his chit, you decide which brigade you're going to activate. And you flip that. So that's Winder. And here's his brigades that are on the board. All right. He's got Ronald, Tolliver, and Garnett. So you pick one, and then that becomes activated. You flip that to its activated side, and you just sit it on the edge of the map down here so you know you've already activated that brigade. And then once the turn's over, you throw Winder. If he's still got more brigades to activate, you throw the activation chit back in the cup. Okay? So you do that, and he stays in the cup, and then when he comes out again, you activate another brigade, then you throw him back in the cup. Okay, some of these things here can counter what happens, like command confusion can cause when they go to do their chit, the Union player can play that, and then he's going to roll on a table over there. And whatever order the Confederate guy gave to the brigade, the command confusion chit's going to change that, and then you roll a dice to see what it gets changed to, okay? So that's how you're at, and you just go through the activation until everything's done and everything's out of the cup. And it's a good system. I like that. It's a good system. First turn did take a little while to play, and I'm going to put that to the fact that it was my first time playing in this system here. So, all right, so you got that now. Movement, you have 4 types of movement orders. You have attack, defend, maneuver, and rally, or regroup, or rally, something like that. That's the 4th one. But you do these, and you pick what you're going to do. If you choose attack, that means you can move. What they call moving adjacent to an enemy is called engaging, okay? And then you can do close combat, and you can do fire combat. Defend, you can move and do fire combat. And for each order, you have different movement allowances. Like maneuver, the units get like 6 movement points for when they use a maneuver. For regroup or rally, you get nothing. You sit in place, and then you try to rebuild these units. Like this unit here is on his battle-worn side. So if you choose to do the regroup or rally phase, whatever that darn thing's called, where is it? I don't see it. You do you can roll a dice, and if you are equal to or better or less than the cohesion rating of the unit, then you can flip him back over to his full strength side. Okay, there's no facing in this game. Your flanking fire is done by having multiple units shooting into the hex from different hex sides. So if you had a unit shooting into the skirmisher from here, and then from here along the hex line, that's not a different hex side. Or if you had 2 units stacked in here shooting in, that's still the same hex side, okay? So that takes care of that. You also have the commander-in-chief chits, which are Banks and Jackson. If you draw one of those, you can activate any brigade on the board, and it doesn't count as an activation. So if Ronald had not been activated yet by, who was his commander? By Winder, and you drew the Jackson chit, you could activate Ronald to do his thing, but you wouldn't flip Ronald's activation chit over, because he would still get his normal activation. So that's like a special, and Banks is the same way. And then you have 2 unique event chits, Fog of War and Fortunes of War. Fog of War eliminates the very next action, and Fortunes of War is Fog of War you roll on a table. Fortunes of War is the very next action that comes out, no matter who it's from. That order is trash. So if Winder has only 1 more brigade to activate, and right before you drew that chit, you drew the Fog of War, or the Fortunes of War, you would, and then you drew Winder right after it. Winder's this activation would be forfeit, and Winder would go over there because he'd be done for the turn, and then that unit, that last brigade, would not get a chance to activate. So that's how that works. All right, let's talk about the first turn. Rick Barber map. We all know those are going to be gorgeous. They're beautiful to look at. A lot of people have a hard time looking at them, but I have 0 issues. And they were kind enough to put the elevation levels sort of randomly throughout these little numbers and circles. Cornfields, you got your elevations, you got your running streams, stuff like that. You got your roads, your pikes, and your regular roads. Woods, you got steep slopes, which are the very close black, like cliff lines you see on a map. And then the red, sparsely spaded ones are just a regular slope. So this is cool. So the Union, one of the victory point schedules for the Union is they get a point for every one of these Confederate locations they capture. They get a point every turn that they are occupying it. And then at the end of the game, you get whatever the victory point number is in there. So that if the Union held this one at the end of the game, they would get 2. If they were sitting in this thing for 5 turns, that would be an additional 5 points. The Confederates don't get that luxury. They have to take and hold it at the end of the game. So this first turn was really, really cool. You got to watch how you move with your stacking and stuff. Especially if you're in attack formation, you're not going to move very far. Artillery, cavalry have their own step. They don't play with the Chit Draw, along with all the rest of the units and the activation chits, their turn starts right at the top. All right, so first turn, I decided, I sort of rolled a dice to figure out, did I want to attack right, did I want to attack left, or just go right up the middle? And we chose with Crawford's brigade sitting over here to attack from this side. So we did. And they had a great push because Ronald's units were sitting back here along the stream in the woods. So they pushed down. They were on this road right here, and they owned that location. They pushed down in a sort of a flanking move like this and hit into the side of Early's guys, okay? Or Garnett. No, Early. Garnett. Yeah, Garnett. And Early's over there. And they drove them out, and they took this victory location. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, that was interesting. Now, there's no casualty numbers in this game. You take shaken, or you get disrupted, or you flip to your battle-worn side. And if you have to flip from battle-worn, you go to a break test, and the break test will tell you where to put the unit off on the broken table over there, and then you got to rebuild him down the broken table, which if you get broken 3, it's going to take you 4 builds to get him back where he can come back on the map. But the Confederates drove these guys out of this victory location, took it back, so they never did get their 1 point for that. And not only did they do that, we drew the Rebel Yell Chit, we used it, and was able to move this unit in here, and in close combat, this guy, he was sitting here, and he was shaken. He's a C-rated unit, which means he's like having a half strength point. Okay. Well, he was also reduced 1 strength point for being shaken. So that made him a quarter of a strength point. So needless to say, that was like what, 8-1? 8-1 attack, or no, like 16-1. But your chart doesn't work like that in this game, which is this is what I find really interesting. You figure out your odds, your fire combat shifts, and or close combat. In close combat, you would get a shift for what the odds ratio is of the units close combating. In fire, if you have multiple units firing, you designate one as the primary unit, and that's the one you'll use the fire combat shifts for. You won't use everybody, okay, unless there's flanking fire. And then you use the total strength points chart above it on the combat results table, and you roll on the. And I wish I could show it to you. Yeah, I'm not going to turn that camera. Well, crap. Yeah, we'll turn it for a second here. No, I'm not. Anyhow, the combat results table has in each strength point number. You just find your strength points. You roll. There is a red, a yellow, and a green column. And when you roll the dice, if the cohesion unit of the unit you're firing at falls into one of those colored columns, then you go over to another table called the cohesion test table, and you roll 2 dice. And you roll a red dice and a white dice, and then you find the colored table, and whatever the dice was, it'll give you your result for depletion, and then it'll give you what's called your skedaddle result. So it'll give you your combat wounding roll, and then it'll tell you whether you ran away or took another morale hit, or what you do as far as retreat stuff goes. So really, really unique, very unique and interesting combat system for this game. Like I say, no strength point losses that you have to account for. The only thing you got to account for is when a unit breaks, and you put him over there in that broken box, which is, like I say, 4 boxes, and you start counting down, okay? And that's how that works, and you can get those units back on the board. So it's not all this, I got to pick this up, and he's a 4, I got to put a 3 under him now and put him back down here, like in a lot of your tactical Civil War games. All right, so far, turn 1, I'm going to hope that it was... And it wasn't painstakingly slow. It's just a lot of chit draw. You figure I had to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 or 22 chits to get through the whole turn. So you can imagine this game on a bigger scale, or a bigger scale of these type of games, you could be doing a lot of chit draws. And there's probably ways you could work around that. All right, so that's the 540 turn. We're going to move on, and the Confederates get reinforcements every turn. And the game is only 5 turns long, so Branch is in here now. So the odds are, since the Union doesn't get anything, the Confederates are probably going to start punching them in the face as soon as they get all their units on. So we're going to move on to the 6 p.m. turn. And like I said, that's the first turn update for Stonewall Sword, the Battle of Cedar Mountain. We're just playing the Union attack scenario. There's only 2 scenarios. One's a campaign, one's a scenario. We're playing the scenario because it's good for learning. All right, so let's get this posted so y'all can take a look at this thing, and I'm going to move on with the 6 p.m. turn. 20 minutes per turn, just like old Terrible Swift Sword. All right, we'll talk to you all later. Peace.